Hey guys, this is Ed from Mission Ed Possible, and welcome back to my Atari 8-bit assembly language tutorial. Last time we worked with character sets, and today we're going to be changing colors. Let's get into it. Okay, let's bring up the code we had from last time. And I'm going to go ahead and run this because why not? Let's see here. So this is what we had last time. And today we're going to work on changing the color. So first off, let's go ahead and change the comments because I always forget to do that. We're going to need a couple new equates here. So we're just going to add these for each of the color registers. So we have color 0, and that's going to be at 02C4. Color 1 is going to be at 02C5 and on down the line. We can do 5 colors in this mode, and so we can only show actually 4, and I'm going to go into why that is in here just a second, or how we get to the 5th color. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 02C8, and I'm going to go ahead and put in some comments here. So we have, this is going to be the color that we're going to be using for 01. Last time, if you remember, we used 0, in Antic mode 4 and 5, we used these modes right here. 00, 01, 10, and 11. So those are going to be, I'm going to go ahead and put a note up here on which ones those are. Color for, can't type. Okay, so notice we have 2 colors set for 1-1, and this is how we get the 5th color. So we actually have color 4 is actually the background color here. And let's go ahead and clean that up just so it looks a little nicer. Okay, that looks good. We have 01, 10, 11, and 00. And we have the 2 colors for 1-1. So how that works, and I've been alluding to it the whole time, we'll get into that. So the deal is in order to get to that 5th color, what we have to do is we have to enter the character in inverse mode. And that means on the Atari, there's 128 characters, and then there's 128 inverse characters. So the idea here is if we look up a character set, I'm going to go ahead and open up a web browser and look up Atari 8-bit TASCII character set. We'll see, that's not what I wanted. Let's see, images. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. Right here, notice how we have all of these here in the, black on white, and then we have white on black. There's the same character set repeated, okay? And so the idea here is in order to go with inverse video, we have to add 128 in order to this. So in order to get there. If you wanted the heart in inverse video, you would have to add 128 to it. So heart is 0, and then it would be 128 here. Now that's with a TASCII, the character set for a TASCII, which we haven't really got into the difference there. We have the character set, but we also have the fact that it's actually in a different order in the computer. And one of the reasons why they did that was because they wanted to have 0 being space. And in the TASCII code, it's actually 20. And that doesn't work very well. So what they did, and actually they have a conversion chart, which I had, let's see, I had written earlier, but I don't think I made a comment with it. Let me go ahead and add a comment here with this data. So we have, there's a code here for the ASCII one. I don't know if I can click on this, probably not, but we can go ahead and look here at this URL. And this gives us a good list of all of the characters here. And it shows the hex, the decimal, and also it'll show the actual code in the machine. And I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. But we have ASCII 0 to 31 is going to be the screen code 64 through 95. And so the screen code is what is in the computer, like in the order of the computer. We did space and exclamation point. And if we look here at the codes right here, we actually have 0 and 1 being the codes that are in the computer. These are the screen codes, okay? Not the ASCII value. ASCII is basically like ASCII, but Atari ASCII. And so it's a little confusing. Bear with me. Basically, we have a conversion table right here, as well as what we have in our actual ASCII table here. So we're not going to really need to worry about which codes are which, because we're going to be going through and setting all of them. Anyone that we're going to have to worry about is going to be this first character, to make sure that it's blank. And that way, when we have blank characters on the screen, it doesn't display anything. Right now, we're actually setting blank to be this left-hand side of this ball. And that's not what we're going to want, for our screen. So we're going to have to change that later on. But that's okay. For now, for tests, we just wanted to show those first two characters. And that's what this, this space and exclamation point are for. Okay, so that results in a 0 and a 1. Okay, so let's see what else we want to do here. So we have the ASCII tables there. We also have a color table. I want to talk about colors today. And so I actually have a couple of links here for colors. And a couple things you need to understand is that the Atari computers and a lot of other machines act differently when they're in a different region. So in America and Japan, we use NTSC, which is, I don't remember, I'll probably put a thing here as actually what it stands for. But NTSC is what American TVs use, and as well as Japanese. And in Europe, they use PAL. And it actually has a different palette. And we can actually see that by if we go to one of these palettes, we can see the differences here. So I'm going to go ahead and open them up in two separate tabs so you can see the difference. So it's slightly different here. Some of them are very different. Some of them are the same. If you look on the right-hand side of this, it doesn't change very much. A little bit, but there's certain ones that absolutely change and can have a big difference on the way the game looks. For this tutorial, I'm going to be doing this in NTSC color. Feel free, if you're in a PAL region, definitely use the PAL palette. Totally fine. So your numbers are probably going to be different than mine. So that being said, what we're going to want to do first is set the color of the balls, because we changed it. The character set last time. So we're going to compile it, and then we'll run it. And we see orange, green, blue, and black. The black is the background. And then we have all these different colors. They're not the ideal colors. These are the default colors. And we can change any of these colors to be anything we want within these palettes. So like if we look at right here, if we're looking at NTSC colors, if If we wanted to do some grays in here, we would use, to look at this table, we use the first number and the second number. So we've got like black is going to be 0, 0, makes sense. White is going to be 0E. And then, you know, if you wanted to do some red, it'd be like 4, 0. And so you can kind of go down here, and there's actually a thing, I think it's chrominance and luminance. I always get them mixed up. You can definitely look that up. But the idea of being one color, but different shades of that color effectively. And in some cases that makes perfect sense. But in other ones, it kind of goes from a blue to a purple. It's not 100% perfect, but you get the idea here. So what we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to use a palette that's going to work well for a dungeon. Okay. And since we're building a game that is going to be a dungeon crawler, we might want to have some grays and blacks and things like that. But we're going to want to have a little bit of color that to be able to add some, you know, so a little bit of ambiance. You don't want it to just be monochrome. That's kind of boring. So what I want to do here is I want to set it up so that we can change the colors of our ball to be something a little bit nicer. And the way we do that is actually very, very simple. We have our color registers right here. So color 0 through color 4. And what I want to do is pick some colors that we're going to want to set these two. So we can do, I wanted to do like a medium gray. And then we want to do a light gray, green, brown, and black. Okay, so the idea here is that we're going to want to do something like maybe some moss, and then brown maybe for doors. Black is the background, of course, and then we have a light gray and a medium gray. And so looking at the palettes, I've actually pre-picked some colors here, but I've got 06 for a medium gray. And for a light gray, I've got 0A, which is slightly lighter. Obviously could go as 0C or 0E if we wanted to, but trying to keep it in the gray region. Green, I have as C2, so a pretty nice bright green there. Brown, I have as 22, so we've got right here. So that's kind of a reddish brown. Obviously, we could go with a darker one if we wanted to. We could do like a F0 or something like that, or 10. But we'll see how that looks. And we can obviously change it. The idea here is that we're going to be working with a color palette. And one of the things that you can do very easily is change the color palette on the fly. So that if you wanted to change it so that maybe your screens are darker, we can definitely do that. So that we could change it so that instead of grays, we could easily change it so that they go to another level, and we change it to yellows or reds or greens and stuff like that. That's actually a technique that a lot of developers will use to kind of show that this is a different level. I like the idea of maybe things getting darker, and maybe we're going to use purples and blues and stuff like that. So we can actually play with that. For now, just kind of sticking with the standard kind of gray palette. So let's go ahead and set these colors. So we have 06 and we have 0A, and we want $, C2 and 22, and then black is just going to be 0. We don't technically have to set that since it's automatically that way, but that's okay. So now we have it set up so that we have our colors set with equates, but now we actually have to change the colors. Okay. So let's find a good place to put that. Probably before we display stuff. So this is setting up the character set. So maybe in here, we'll change colors here. We'll do change colors. And simply, all we have to do is do a move of just the single value into each one of these color registers. So we're going to do medium gray into color 0, do a light gray into color 1. So we're going to do, green, color 2, MVA, and then we're going to do, can't type, brown. Part of the problem is I keep looking away at my notes. 3 MVA, black to be color 4. Okay. Now we have changed the colors already. So let's go ahead and take a look at what it looks like here. So now we have a nice gray background going to a green center. So that's looking a lot more pleasing already. When we're starting to use shading, that's going to be definitely a thing. When we have light and dark colors mixed together, it really convey a lot with very few colors. You really only need 2 to 3 colors to really convey a good amount of depth. A lot of times a typical thing is you have a medium color, then you have a bright color like in the upper left, and then a darker color in the bottom right, just to kind of give you that kind of 3D look and showing where the light source is. That's kind of a typical pixel art trick. So we've talked a lot about this 5th color and how we can get it in there. And so notice we have it set, but we're not using brown. We don't see brown anywhere, right? So what I'm going to do here is I want to set it up so that we're going to have 2 balls, one that's going to be using the green color and one that's going to be using the brown color. What we want to do though is we want to actually increase the number. Instead of being the space and the exclamation point, what we actually want to do here is we want to actually add in the inverse video of this. So the problem with this is we're using a string to convey this, and that's not ideal, especially when we're starting to get into unprintable characters. What we're going to want to do here is, if we're going to use 0 and 1, what we're going to want is the inverse video of that. So it's actually going to be 128 and 129. So in order to show the brown. So what we actually want to do is we want to show 0, 1, 128, and 129 if we want to have both colored balls on the screen. So instead of using the string, which can work okay, we can actually do it this way. We can say 0, 1, 128, 129. And that's a little easier than trying to figure out how we're going to put inverse video with the the code. If we were on the actual computer, on the actual Atari, we could actually hit the inverse video button and type it in, but we're not, so we can't really do that. So what we need to do here though is we have 4 characters now, so all we need to do is increase that to 4. So now what we should be able to do is run this. And now we have a green ball and a brown ball. And this is already starting to look pretty cool in my opinion. We have 4 colors on this character, and we have 5 colors on this character. Actually, the pair of characters. I'm sorry. We have 4 colors on this one, and 4 colors on this one. We just changed one of the colors. What else could we do with this here? Well, one of the things that I don't like is the fact that we're using 0 and 1 because we have that space. Let's move that to be, instead of 0 and 1, let's actually make it say like 1 and 2, and then 129 and 130. Okay. So the problem with that is the fact that we are loading it in here on the character set. We said we're starting at 0 and we're going to 16, right? Now the problem is that means that this character is set up to be character number 0, and this one's set up to be character number 1. If we don't want to use space, we need to offset that. What we want to do is we want to do characters +8 and character set +8. Actually, that's what we want to do. So that way it's offset on the character set and not on our data here. So let's try this again. So we said 1, 2, 129, 130. There we go. Okay, so we kind of have two eyes there, kind of looking like two different color eyes. It's like a husky or something. And so, yeah, so what we can do here is we can play around with this and say, all right, let's go ahead and just display a bunch of these. And we can do an alternating pattern if we wanted to. So like, let's say we did 120 and we can do some kind of interesting things here. So let's say we have 4. So let's say we have 12 of them now, right? So let's go ahead and add this 12 here and see what this looks like. So now we're getting this alternating pattern of them. So this is how we're going to be building our scene, is by using these numbers. And we can sit there and go through and change all of the characters to be walls and stuff like that, doors, all that stuff. And then we can build a scene using those. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. The only thing that we have to worry about is if we use the 5th color, then we need to add 128 to it. That's really it. That's all we have to worry about. And so we could actually, if we wanted to, take this and fill up an entire screen and have fun with it. So, all right, so that's it for today. So we went through and we changed the colors. And we talked about how to get the mysterious 5th color. And we also talked about how we can build a scene and set the colors for our scene. Next, we'll be looking at how we can actually build real graphics with this. Right now, we're just doing simple graphics here. And one of the things we're going to be starting to do is we're actually going to be using a paint program. So I'm going to be firing up probably Photoshop. I'll be drawing out graphics that we're going to be using in our game. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit the like button. As always, I will see you in the next adventure. Take care.